Hello and welcome back. This is another short review episode. We are going through Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time, and we have found ourselves in the 300s finally, 100 albums in. And so today I'll be reviewing numbers 399 through 390. So let's get started. 399 is Rain Dogs by Tom Waits. Rain Dogs is a concept album based around some characters, people that Tom Waits met in New York. And it includes what I am kind of discovering as Tom Waits' signature sound, which is raw recordings, evocative and poetic lyrics, and the unusual, well, I want to say strange use of instruments, including pairings that you wouldn't normally put together, like a banjo and a marimba. The result isn't always successful, but as a whole, as a work of art, it's fairly cohesive. Tom Waits has this really interesting way of using his voice to almost become the people that he's singing about, and I think he does it fairly successfully. I'm going to give Rain Dogs a 3. Number 398 is Eliminator by ZZ Top. ZZ Top moved a little bit away from their bluesy roots. The loud guitars, the riffs, the rock-solid four-on-the-floor drums and bass, and the pristine production can't save the inane and repetitive songs from being lifeless and ultimately extremely boring. This was a huge disappointment. I liked it less and less the further we went through it. I'm going to give this a 1. Number 397 is Blue Lines by Massive Attack. So this is a large range of beats and sounds layered in different ways, sampling, and lots of well-performed vocals sort of drifting over the top of all this other sound. It's not amazing, but there's some gems to be found throughout the album. I'm not even sure what genre to call this. It's different, but it's not crazy different. It's pretty interesting to listen to. I would listen to it again. I'm going to give this a 2. Number 396 is For Your Pleasure by Roxy Music. The band is pretty good in this album. The music is mostly passable, but it's all rendered completely useless by the wretched, utterly horrible singer. The singing is so bad that any engagement is drained immediately when he starts, and it doesn't matter how well the people behind him are playing or how interesting the arrangements are. I'm going to give this one a 1 and one of these. Number 395 is Sound of Silver by LCD Soundsystem. Now, that was a lot of S's for me. I loved this album. Really complex, layered soundscapes that sort of evolve into and out of each other. The beat comes and goes. A piano part will sort of drift through and morph into a synthesizer, which then comes back and morphs into a delayed guitar. It's done really musically as well. Like, it's not just random sounds thrown out there. Everything is really well coordinated and planned to give a lot of movement and energy and motion to each of the songs. Sound of Silver was exciting and gorgeous to listen to. I'm going to give this a 3. Number 394 is Good Old Boys by Randy Newman. Okay, so if you've heard a Randy Newman song ever, then you know what this album sounds like. Piano-centered, kind of bluesy, kind of jazzy, some unnecessary horns once in a while, and Randy Newman's unique and not quite my cup of tea voice. You know what you're getting when you start and finish this album. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. I'm going to give this a 2. Number 393 is Kala by M.I.A or M.I.A. I'm not sure. So this one has the distinction of knocking Kiss from the worst music that I've heard so far this year. It's like they compiled a list of everything I hate and then made it into a bunch of songs. It's like dance music and world music and hip-hop are sort of melting on the sidewalk in the heat of the afternoon sun, just sort of like sticky and spreading out everywhere, uncontained, no musicality, no contrast. The fact that these are musicians from all around the world doesn't really impress me. That you have to do something interesting with them. You have to say something. It has to mean something in itself, and this means nothing. The singer, M.I.A, I guess is the artist, makes the Roxy Music guy sound like a well-trained opera baritone. Man, I hated everything about this album. I had to fight really hard to not just skip it entirely. I really did have to force myself to listen to every minute of it. My goodness, I hope I never hear it again. This is a 0. Number 392 is Let It Be by Yes the Beatles. We finally made it to the Beatles, the big boys. This is not a great album though. It does have a lot of energy, a lot of propulsion, but it's missing a little bit of something. It's hard not to listen to these guys play and sing though and not smile. As an album of itself, it has a lot of personality, it has a lot of character. It goes a lot of different places, but it never gets out of control. So I am going to give this a 3, even though it's certainly not the best of the Beatles. Number 391 is The Pretender by Jackson Browne. And we've made it to a strong candidate for the best music I've heard all year. Jackson Browne has created some absolutely stunning songs. It's hard for me to categorize how good these songs are. By themselves, they're amazing. Put together on an album, they reinforce each other in every conceivable way. In terms of how this album sounds, it's some of the most gorgeous, sumptuous music I have ever heard. I really encourage you to put on The Pretender by Jackson Browne. Listen to the whole thing and see if you could get out of it what I got out of it. I've already listened to it 3 times this week. I can't get it out of my head. I can't get enough of it. If I had a 5, I would give it a 5. It is astoundingly good. A real masterpiece. One of the first albums I've heard so far this year that I would call a true masterpiece. This is easily a 4. And lastly, we have number 390, which is Elephant by the White Stripes. Jack White is undeniably an artist. Like, he has a vision for how he wants his music to sound, how he wants his songs to go, and I think he carries it out really, really well. So as an artist, I really I look up to him for the way that he carries out the vision in his head and in his ears. So Elephant has a lot of fun moments. It has a lot of character. It's not boring ever. I complained in my review of their first album that the sound was a little weak, like they were missing some of the bottom end because it was without a bass guitar. So they fixed that. There's a lot more overdubbing of guitars. Gives it a lot of life and power. The songwriting is good, again, concise. They never say more than they need to. Like, they come in, they do their song, and they're done. And once again, I appreciate music that does that. There's no need to continue to draw out something when you said the thing that you think you want to say. And I know at least one of you is going to be unhappy when I say this, but I really think that Meg White brings down the quality of this music. If they had a better drummer, this would be one of the better records on this list. Every time I listen to her drum, I think of the scene in Whiplash where the instructor is asking the student if he's rushing or not. Despite the uneven drum performance, the drums sound great. Like, the sound of the album is really, really great. And I really enjoyed this. I would listen to it again in a heartbeat. And I'm going to give it a 3. Alright, another 10 albums in. Thanks again for watching. I have 2 non-music tips for you, just in general. I just want this to be said. Number 1, make sure that you back up everything on your computer. Because I almost lost everything on my computer this weekend. And it was only because I happen to have a spare MacBook that I was able to transfer my information over, and I think I saved all my recent work. So, back up your work. 2, don't put icy hot in your eye, because it feels really, really weird. Thanks again for watching. If you liked what I had to say, then leave me a comment and tell me you agree with me. If you did not like what I had to say, leave me a comment and tell me why you disagree with me. I want to talk to you about it. The great thing about music is that we can listen to the same music and get something completely different out of it. So tell me what you got out of these albums if you had the time to listen to them. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.